We've all been there. You're preparing for a race and have no idea what kind of shape you're in. Running watches have predictions, websites have entire threads dedicated to predictor workouts. People are asking AI, how fast can I run? How do you know you're getting faster if you don't have a race to test yourself? After 3 months of training and collecting detailed data in my training log, I'm finally able to share this with you. All of this is to see if I'm trending towards successful completion of the marathon in December. I'm trying to find out, will I be able to really race this, or am I gonna have to just get through it? In this video, there's 7 key stats that I wanna look at. I'll dig up some metrics from my Strava profile. I haven't looked at these yet, so this is gonna be a super raw and honest first look reaction, and we'll get to find out together if I'm excited about my progress or if I'm gonna be kind of disappointed. It's one thing to feel good on runs. There's no hiding from the data. While you're plopped down and ready to watch this video, use these data points to see if you're making progress. Let's dive into my Strava and take a look at the training calendar to measure these stats and see how I'm doing. And I'll just say right now, all of these probably deserve a whole video on their own. These are just a few to watch out for. Let's hop into those stats. First one, your pace at a zone 2 heart rate. I consider this roughly between 70 and 80% of my maximum heart rate. That lines up with what feels like a pretty good steady run. At the very low end of that, I'm not working too hard. And at the upper end, that's where I'm running with some oomph. What pace does that equate to? That can be a really good indicator if your aerobic system is experiencing the gradual improvements that you want to see as you're gaining fitness. Try to find a section towards the end of a run that's comparable to the type of terrain that you care about performing well on. The reason you want to do this towards the end of the run is because your average pace could be affected by things like hydration and muscular fatigue. So it could be substantially different than that same heart rate at the beginning of a run. If we take this run from a month ago, and we compare this with a run from a few weeks later, we can see that my heart rate remained lower. I averaged 147 beats per minute compared to 148, but it was roughly 5 seconds faster per mile. This is all gonna get even easier to track as I have more data points to work with. My favorite one is threshold pace. That's a whole future video on how to define threshold. The pace that you run at threshold is such a good predictor for race performances. Make sure you subscribe to let me know that you're interested in hearing about that. For simplicity, I'm defining that around 90% of your max heart rate. In the training, this isn't about hitting a pace. It's about observing what pace you're going at for a given heart rate. And that's how you can track progression. Nighttime Right Time was a huge success. I set out to do this workout with the intention of doing a straight tempo. That was something that I'd been lacking. Not only was this the first continuous workout that I'd done, but I held almost the same exact pace from only 5 days earlier without any rest. You might be wondering what kind of workouts I did to get up to this point, because this last month of training that I'm sharing is once I already had a couple months of steady running under my belt, and I really only did 4 quality workouts, just pushing for fun on the trails. And I made sure to do these on the trail so that I couldn't pay attention to pace. I was really just trying to dial in effort and get my body acclimated to working hard again. All right, let's take a look at threshold duration now. How long during a single workout can you run at your actual threshold pace? This is less about what the pace is and more about how long can you sustain that roughly 90% of max. It turns out that one of elite runners' greatest capabilities is their ability to extend how long they can hold higher heart rates. Effectively, what they're doing is redlining for longer, as well as closing the gap between their VO2 max, so the paces that they can sustain for a long time are really, really close to the maximum aerobic effort that you could have put out. The cool thing with repeatability of efforts is that you might plateau and your threshold pace might stop getting faster, but you won't plateau as quickly in duration. I've pulled it up here. For the aptly named Shredmill, I got in the total of 30 minutes of work. It was uphill on the treadmill at 15%. So I'm going to completely ignore any comparisons to pace, and you'll also notice my jump from 22 minutes during Nighttime Right Time. I remember going into this run thinking that I would probably shoot for 24 minutes of quality, but I was feeling so good on this workout that I was open to going long. One of the ways you know for sure if you're getting better at running is if you can run for longer. Look at the longest run that you've done. When was that relative to now? Have you been gradually increasing your longest run? run? Or did you have a big spike in your training and you haven't continued building that maximum duration? But increasing the distance of your longest run in the past month is one of the biggest predictors for injury. As I build toward the marathon, I will absolutely be increasing the distance of my long run, but while I'm still early in the comeback, I want to make sure my bones have had a little bit of time to start remodeling, just like a kitchen, and get a good foundation to become a beautiful finished work of art. It looks like I had some days that were 10 miles. I look to the following week and I can see that I had a 12-mile long run, which is the farthest run that I've had to date during this comeback. The responsible older sibling to longest run is weekly mileage. 7 days a week, pick a day to start on, pick a day to end on, add up how much did you do. Simple as that. Don't forget to like the video if you start your weekly mileage on Mondays. If you start your weeks on Sunday, I'm sorry, you might be a psychopath. We can still be friends though.
Let's go for a run.
The whole point is just any 7 connected days should give you some insights into how you're tracking over time. Weekly mileage tells you all the things that your longest run fails to tell you. Mileage in itself isn't a signal that you're actually getting faster, but by the definition that being able to run more is a form of getting better at running, this absolutely qualifies. It all just depends on what your goals are. We can see that my totals fluctuate mostly between 20 and 40 miles a week. You can see that my shortest weeks are starting to get longer as I've now had a couple 35-mile weeks in a row. I haven't explicitly been tracking this, and I've just been running more as my body feels comfortable and is giving me signals that it's ready to go more frequently. This is really nice to see in the training log and validate that the physical perceptions of my fitness match what I've been doing on paper. Next one was how many days did you miss? This is about comparing what you did to what you intended to do. The way that I choose to look at it is if I had intent to get some form of training in, but I didn't for whatever reason, I would count that as a missed day. If I count the number of days that say rest over the past few weeks, if you extrapolated this over the course of a year, and I'm missing 1 day every single week, that's basically 50 training sessions or over a month of training that I'm missing. Just think if you were only planning on running 3 days per week. If you missed one of those days, you're missing a third of your total running volume. Compared to running 2 days a week, 3 days per week of running is 50% more, and that's huge. The impact of missed days when you don't have as many in the first place is felt much more strongly. While I'm definitely not happy about these rest days because they weren't intended, it's interesting to realize that I struggle most with consistency on normal days. When I'm traveling, I really go out of my way to protect my time and have a plan in place to make sure that I get my exercise in. The takeaway that I have from that is how useful just a little bit of planning can be to let you follow through on your commitments to yourself. Last up is consistency. This one's all about how spiky have your weeks been. Take a look at your weekly training calendar and see how many running days in a row did you do. It's great if you're doing some cross training. I'm riding the trusty steed quite a bit myself these days, but if you look back in your training, you're able to get a sense of what patterns you've been following, and then you can go ahead and compare that to when you're in a typical training state, and you can see if you're taking more days off than you would ordinarily so that you can know maybe that means I'm not quite ready yet, or you could see, hey, I'm actually doing a few days in a row, and that's a great sign, and maybe you're just being a little bit careful and taking a day off here and there in between before you start stringing more days together, if that's part of your usual schedule. Despite the upward trend in mileage, I have been pretty spiky. It seems like I have a pretty random number of days that I'll run in a row before taking days to cross train instead. While I wouldn't necessarily say this is a bad thing, it's something to watch out for. I'd even go as far to say that could start to introduce injury risk, because it's not running a lot that causes injury, it's running a lot more than you're used to. This means that gradual increases are really important, which is my favorite metric. I'm so glad you asked. I have to say I have a soft spot for zone 2 pace, mostly because it's where you spend most of your training time. That seeing progress here makes a meaningful difference in your daily running experience. I can't in good conscience pick any other metric. On the flip side, threshold pace is what actually matters for racing fast, and if that's what you care about, I would weight that with a little bit more importance. The only thing you can control about these metrics is your intent. Technically, you can control your weekly mileage by forcing things, and you can improve your consistency, but the actual improvements and how quickly they come in things like threshold duration, threshold pace, and zone 2 pace is basically out of your hands. I think this is beautiful, and I love the simplicity of it because it means that all you have to do is keep showing up. People wonder why running is such a popular sport to do, but no one wants to watch it. This is why. The feeling of hard work over time isn't easy to capture on camera. Race day is just a culmination of a lot of work that went into making that picture. It's helpful to remember that it's not always about the race, but the lead up. You could train for months and months and the race wouldn't go as planned, and that still wouldn't be a waste. It encourages you to show up to every race with curiosity and excitement to see what can happen. If only we could capture that story. Oh wait, that's what you're watching now. Leave a comment on the video. Is there something special you pay attention to that lets you know you're getting back in shape? In the next video, we'll talk about starting to take action on your goals before you feel like you're ready. You'll get an inside peek into the mindset that I applied to make this amount of progress that we've seen today in such a short period of time. Everyone wants to know what they can do before they start. Forget that. As I like to say, go find out. If you're feeling discouraged with your progress, check out this video here to see what to do when running feels hard. Or click here if you want to catch the comeback from the beginning.